And now some chilled discussion after the week's angst, with the Doctor Who Detox Hour, or two.
Take me away from this madness. Right, the Doctor Who days roll on, blurring into each other in a haze of hate and hysteria as countless rumour, announcements, leaked photographs, articles confirm some of our worst fears, and to some confirms that the programme is now theirs. So buckle down, because we're going to have a lot to talk about. We've hit Friday, 31st of Jan. Can you believe it? Yes, you've guessed it. Doctor Who magazine landed, and the argument about who the first Doctor is emerged. So we'll have to tap into that, won't we? Because, you know, yeah, say no more. Now, as you know, just some sensibilities here, just to get it all right. Okay, if you've just found us in this online Whoniverse, give us a like, give us a subscribe, spread the word, tell one Whovian friend. I'll certainly appreciate it. And, you know, you can come on. I mean, I'm very open to this, you know. DM me on X. You can see that at Sense the Sphere, or email me at sensethesphere@gmail.com. Suggestions, topics, feedback, essays about Doctor Who ideas you've got. If you want to come on, hey, I'm up for it. I really am up for it. Yeah, you can hold me to that. So please do join us. So here we go. What's the job? It's the Detox Hour. It tends to end up being 2. I can't keep my time here. It's our therapy couch for whovians, isn't it? So I think this week, after all that's been said and done, and who the writers are, and oh my God, I feel infected. We need a deep dive detox to get our Whovian sensibilities settled for the weekend, to make us people you can almost live with. So, as you know, he's been with us since the beginning. It's us two. Good to see you again. How's your week been, Dan?
Hey, gang. Hey, Brendan. Yeah, A-team. Yeah, no, great week.
Now, have you been enjoying yourself, disco dancing by any chance, or nightclubbing or anything?
No, I haven't got my kid out and gone for a boogie with my...
I mean,
Yeah, no,
this seems to be the way. This was on my Facebook, the Sensory Facebook page, so I thought, oh, well, thanks for sharing that. But it does bring to mind, you know what? Yes. Have you been in that nightclub next to that hotel?
This is all news to me.
Yeah, well, I mentioned it last week, and I'm going to insist on showing it because people need to know that I am just saying what was there. You know, who makes this program to say on Christmas Day, we're going to have, out of all the hotels we can pick, we're going to pick one, and it's right next to an LGBT nightclub. That's it. I bet, you know, I bet it's in the script. So yes, there you go. But we all know it. This is how I feel infected every weekend, Dan, because after hearing all the stuff each week and you try and deny it, you can't help thinking, but this is where you're taking the program, isn't it?
Look, there seems to be... look, are these in jokes? Is that what it's for? Does it hit a buzz with a certain target group? I don't understand what the relevance to this stuff is.
And the difficulty is when you're a Doctor Who fan and you're trying to find out anything. Come on, when your main actor was in different programs, you followed them a bit, and you know you just you're just interested in your main doctor. Well, he's our main doctor in some strange garb. I think it's some staff do when they've done the importance of being earnest. But as Cinnamon said the other day, it's almost like an adult nappy. So there's a shooty looking, like he's ready to go nightclubbing or in a sauna, and there he is again. Who I mean, he even likes male statues. I mean, it's just. And then all you have to do is go Joy to the World, that lovely innocent Christmas Day episode. He was nightclubbing every night. And then, what's his joke? Twerking with a Dalek. So you just know that seems to be the vibe. So we need to we need to cleanse. We need to cleanse, don't
Definitely do. Definitely.
So you know how we do that. We try our best, and this is when the thread you can help us. And we really need to help each other at the moment, I have to say.
Yeah, come on, gang. We'll strike up a conversation in the chat tonight, I think.
Yeah, so do you want to start us off with one of your ups and downs of your Doctor Who week?
Oh, you know what? My week has been Doctor Who free.
What?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
I think, what was the last thing I was doing last weekend? I actually think it was, I was messing around with the Ambassadors of Death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was wanting to see with the upcoming season 7 not long off. I wanted to see if the colorization was as patchy as I remembered it.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things I'm hoping for out of the new box set is I realized that the Tour of the Autons was so good. I just hope that I hope season 7's got the same treatment.
Well, I'll be mentioning season 7 today because the Doctor Who magazine had some interesting bits about all the extras in the Blu-ray collection. So we'll have a little look at that. That might cheer us up as part of our detox. Well, I mean, I'm going to spoil your week now. Then, if you've been in denial, the war between
I've heard rumblings. I've tried to sort of just hang low, so we can talk about it here.
Well, we'll rack through. Remember, this is our ups and downs of the week. So these are just our little snippets before we get to the big ones, like the Fugitive Doctor, the First Doctor, blah, blah, blah. The war between the land and the sea. The logo, look, it's got a bit of sea and it's got words. There you go. But of course, okay, it's a logo. I can't spend more than 2 seconds on that. However, as Gary Lee was showing, now we've discussed this photograph before, and I thought we'd decided it was an Atlantean from the underwater menace, or it was just another species. Because if it just says it's the war between the land and the sea, and we know the sea devils in it, there could be other creatures. But as Gary Lee says here, he says a design sketch is leaked of the new Sea Devil design. Now, I'm really hoping that this is just doing the rounds again, and this is not confirmed. I mean, if this is a Sea Devil, I'm really going to be tested to the limit.
Oh, really? I would have thought that's more Silurian than Sea Devil, but anyway.
Yeah. It looks like a completely different franchise to me. It looks as though it's a Star Trek thing, But
yeah, it looks like something you'd see in Scooby-Doo or something. Or
yeah, you're calling it right now. That's the level of it, isn't it? So we've got. I'm not feeling the love from the thread on all these things, I have to say. So anyway, it's out there. It better not be a Sea Devil. That's what got me into Doctor Who. I really don't want this at all. As Lee Smith says, fuzzy felt Sea Devil. Doctor Who for babies, but it'll go there with the LGBT and adult issues. I find it fascinating. I don't know how you can do that. Ups and downs of the week. Well, Anita Dobson, who's in season 1 and season 2 as Mrs. Flood, she spoke at some Radio Times covers party. So she said, I think some of the Mrs. Flood theories are really cool because I've done a couple of Comic-Cons and the fans come up and tell me what they think. Some of them have been really close to the truth. Now, in a way, she's a master at saying nothing. Very good. Very good. But what's your theory, just for the sake of it? What's your theory on who the hell she's going to be next year or this year?
The Rani, the war chief. the master,
the
Missy,
Rani, yeah, she's going to be a blend of things. She's going to
Susan.
be, oh God, she's going to be a god, isn't she? She's going to be a god. That one I keep reading, the god of storytelling, just sounds so blah to me.
You mean the god that gets turned to dust and then gets reanimated again by love, by death and love? What was it? Love plus death equals life.
Yeah, I mean, do you know these math? I never did these maths lessons at school. I did quadratic equations and calculus and other stuff that bust my brain, but we never did. If you put death with death divided by in long division by this, you actually create Sutek again. I mean, on it.
It's as easy as pie. It's as easy.
Oh well, as easy as pie, and then the Richard Herndl doctor walks in a straight line. How did that work? I was sat there going 3.142. We'd all been taught it at school, hadn't we? And I was thinking, so is that 3 steps in, and then 1 step, and then 4 steps? And of course, he just walks in a straight line. I thought,
That's when you know you've got a serious fan, is when you've actually trying to figure out how that applies to Herndl just trolling across the middle of the chessboard.
yeah. The only other version I had for the 5 doctors was if you keep saying what pi is in your head, it reads it and it doesn't hit you. Because I thought, why is he doing a straight line? Maybe he's thinking 3.142, 3.142. And then he says to Tegan, go. And you're going, but what's the plan?
Yeah, I know. She's going, you've got your sentence right. And it's like, just stroll across the middle.
He'd had enough of her. He wanted her dead, didn't he? He's like, So,
oh dear.
So as you can see, we've gone off script because Mrs. Flood, whatever.
We're going to a happy place. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, doesn't this excite you? He released this again the other day, and then you go, oh, and then you go, oh, hold on, this is an old one. I think that's his hair from last year when you had a bit more. I don't think this is.
That's why that's back when everyone still liked him.
I know, when we were full of hope before the Star Beast started. Although I must admit, there was something in the back of my head which is going, you're using a comic strip as your first one. Oh, really? I don't know. There was something about it that bothered. I know a lot of fans really wanted that, but I wasn't wanting it. And I liked the stories in the comic. But I'm a funny one. I don't like cross genres. I don't like it. I'm a very funny one. Big Finish, I hardly listen to. And I don't want anything from Big Finish to be in the main program. I'm really Puritan, almost like that. Anyway,
you mean it's not? It's you only want canon in canon.
Oh yeah, I'm an ex-teacher, aren't I? Blooming hell.
Dwayne's not here. We can settle this. You know?
Yeah, we could. Anyway, just to remind everybody, our great, wonderful showrunner who has so many ideas for the show, so many. Well, there seem to be so many copied. He said in 2018, let's remind ourselves, people keep asking me if I'll write another episode of Doctor Who. Right? And then he says, let me get that right. Let's have a look. Let me go bigger. It's not listening to me. Go back to your job you had 13 years ago, or go back to your old school. Walk in, say hello, take your old seat, and start giving instructions. Watch everyone's faces shortly before they call the police. There's a wonderful play by Alan Bennett, which is a ruthless warning against ever feeling you've been missed, he continued. And then he just says, move on, and besides, why look back? The future's golden. So that was only, well, it's 7 years ago, but he wasn't coming back, was he?
No, and I think that was probably the right call, right? Obviously, we're all interested in a bit of nostalgia, but and then, to be fair, I thought with 3 specials, apart from a few faux pas there, I thought they might have actually got lightning to strike twice, but it really didn't play out once season 1 kicked off.
No, and actually, those sentences there on screen now remind me of what he's just said in the Doctor Who magazine production notes, where he kind of says season 2 and we'll mention that in a moment. He uses the same lingo. It's just, I think we can all see through him now. Now, I'm going to say it, and I think it's my first warning to everybody. So everybody buckle down, take your meds, get ready. Can't be helped. I think we've got to be very careful now. My Bigenerates program on on Wednesday, get the right one, Brendan. That really went into this. I think I've been so off-piste on Doctor Who on that Wednesday show. We had to talk about the new writers, the research we'd found, and yeah. But I haven't asked your opinion. So we've got Juno Dawson, we've got Sharma Walfal, we've got Inua Elms, we've got Peter McTeague, we've got RTD. Now we know really the range of. We've got the writers now for season 2. We've got the full list. That season 2, episode 6 must be Juno Dawson because it's the only gap left. So, you excited?
No, I'm always hopeful, but it feels like we're probably getting more of season 1. I think it doesn't feel like. I don't think this is fresh. I think this is going to feel very 2023, 24, and I think it's going to feel very dated very quickly.
Yes.
And I think we've seen the public move on pretty quickly when it comes to, a lot of the politics that's in Doctor Who at the moment.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of anger. I was nearly going to do a stream with one of my panelists who is having a spat with Benjamin Cook at the moment, and it's beyond belief. The language used. Now I know it's almost a joke of when I reference what career I was in, but honestly, for 30 years, you do watch what you say because every word can go back to parents, and you could be in trouble. And I was a civil servant, and I took my job seriously. I'm sure you do, Dan. The thing is, I can't believe these people who are behind the scenes at Bad Wolf and the BBC. Now, I don't say you shouldn't be rude to them, and you say the same, Dan. We don't play the man, you play the ball. I can say I don't like, and I'll try. If I was in front of RTD, there's a certain way I'd talk. I certainly wouldn't be confrontationally and rude. But it's just too disrespectful. But I would equally want no disrespect back. But some of the abuse that's sent to fans and people who just say, "Oh, I didn't really like the War Games in colour. I wasn't sure about that." And I know what they've said. These people, they haven't said vile things. They've just said, "Oh, and the swearing, the coarseness, the abuse. I'm quite shocked at the people who have power in Doctor Who."
Yeah, I mean, at a recent function I went to, hosted by the Sirens of Audio, it was great lining up, waiting for autographs and stuff, because just fans would come up and talk to you about the show, and it's amazing. Like, they'd just tell you what they liked and didn't like about the program. It wasn't about attacking anyone or getting stuck into things. And I genuinely was, I didn't have alarm bells, and I thought, I thought highly of RTD. I've read his, I mean, I never had the problem with Benjamin Cook that a lot of fans seem to have either, having read the Writer's Tale and things like that. I've always been impressed with his work ethic. I'm just disappointed because it feels like he's hell-bent on, running an agenda, basically. And it doesn't feel like Doctor Who anymore.
Yeah, I know. So we'll keep going. This is the ups and downs of the week. Now, I keep finding some great stuff on Tinted Who. He's great, and this time, Enemy of the World. I mean, here we go. If you want to detox, have a moment on this, everybody in the thread. Oh God, I'll go big screen for a moment as we go through these. There's quite a few of these. Now, we had Philip Morrison on 2 weeks ago, and it was great to hear him, from the person who found Enemy of the World, let's be honest, and to find it and then to be able to put all this together. I mean, look at this. Is it one you've seen a few times now, Dan?
Yeah, no, look, I've watched it in black and white. I got it on Apple when it, I think when they released it the very first time after Philip found it and they restored it. It's certainly it's great seeing Patrick Troughton playing two roles, and I read the book many years ago. I think Ian Marter wrote the book, didn't he? I remember reading the Target book years ago with no hope of ever seeing it. Yeah, no, it lives up to it. Well, I think a lot of people didn't think it was as good as it actually turned out to be.
Yeah, it surprised me. I liked the book. Obviously, I read the book first because of the way it went. But yeah, I mean, yeah, let's have a look at. I mean, we have to wait. It looks like once a year for a colorized, then butchered version of Troughton or Hartnell. So let's have a few now, without it being wrecked. So there's good old Troughton in that lovely blue. It stands out. It's very vibrant, and yeah, he was good in Deadly Assassin. I loved that actor. A really good actor.
Geez, I really am getting like seeing this stuff colorized. It really does. Yeah, I don't know why people aren't happy with colorization, because I really think color does really change the material.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. I mean, you know, you look at the outfits, you look at the sets. You know, I'm still in the colorized camp, but the trouble is that doesn't mean I'm in the camp to do whatever you want to it afterwards. You know, but yeah, I mean, look at these. I mean, look at him as Salamander. Look at that.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, there's such a style and such a cool design era too. You can just, yeah, it's just a shame it wasn't in color.
They did seem to always like it was, and this is in every sci-fi around. Was the, you know, some sort of PVC or something? It was like, I mean,
Yeah.
you had the war games doing that as well, didn't you? I mean, that seemed to be the future, apparently.
I suppose at the time, all of those synthetic materials would have been, seemed amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'd be up for Enemy of the World in color. I'd really would. I don't know. I just seem to like, you know, mind you, I don't know about that outfit. That
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I know that's out there, isn't it? I mean, is he doing judo or something on the side? But I like the metallic set, but of course, it makes me. If I was a kid, I'd be thinking, "But get me a Dalek now," because it just has that Dalek vibe.
Is that him? That'd be him playing Salamander there.
Yeah,
Yeah, because he looks thinner in a lot of these shots.
it's because the hair's different. He moves the hair a bit, doesn't he?
Mm.
So there you go. It looks as though Victoria and Jamie were kilted, so to speak, tartan thing there. So there you go. And never let it be said DEI didn't exist in the 60s. Doctor Who was ahead of this current fad. The black and white goes well, and we saw a lot of that in the war games too, didn't we? That black and white 60s vibe. Yeah, it's like, oh.
Geez, that's yeah, they really went all out. You just don't get a sense of it when you see it in black and white. All the textures. I'm amazed at how much texture comes out once they add a bit of color to it.
Yes, and that's how I feel as well. I know you have enjoyed some of the colorizations. So there you go. That was quite nice. I mean, that has calmed me after talking about the choice of writers for season 2. That's calmed me. That's worked. Doctor, more meds. I did have that to show you. Now, I've got a twist on this, Dan. I have to say, I still get the magazine, but I don't really look at it. That's the level of it. So you could argue I'm just wasting my money. But out of these two, I'm going to give you two choices, Dan, in the thread. Which one would you choose? This one, the Doctor Who magazine latest, or this one? 1970 Doctor Who Chronicles.
Whoa.
Yeah?
I think you know which way most of the chat's going to go.
Well, and this is it. We're all waiting for season 7 on the Blu-ray in March. And cleverly, the Doctor Who Chronicles has chosen 1970. And so that's coming out in February, everybody. Please get onto Panini now, because that has just been released yesterday to order. So shall we just put that Doctor Who magazine aside? Whatever. Actually, I'm half lying and being unfair, because in this Doctor Who magazine they have a whole update on what's in the season 7 extras, and I'm going to show everybody that now. So we're going to go very season 7 for a moment before we hit the Fugitive Doctor. So if everybody's up for a bit of pertwee, as we're all looking forward to March, in February, you can get your hands on that. So get ordering now, because I think, well, my order went in yesterday straight away.
Who's pre-ordered in the chat? I've pre-ordered my season 7. I noticed on Amazon there was over 1,000 pre-orders in the last month or something on when I did the pre-order. So
Yeah. Well,
it seems pretty popular.
Yes, if you see the thread, the number 1970 is getting typed a lot, because that's what people want. Now, this is where it comes into the Doctor Who magazine from this month, and I've tried to help you with some of the extras. I'll keep it big screen so you can see some of the stuff. So, shall we go through some of these and see what you'd really be looking forward to, Dan?
Oh yeah.
So, disc 1, of course, is Spearhead from Space. It mentions all the existing special features, but I'm now intrigued by some of the new ones. Behind the Sofa with Sophie Aldred, Daisy Ashford, Geoffrey Beavers, Janet, Toby, Katie Manning, Sarah, and Matthew. You've got Derek Martinez, audio interview, blah, 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 a few various PDFs. I don't know, is there anything grabbing your eye there, just as an off chance?
Oh, look, I was just having a look. Yeah, I wish they'd put dates on the in the breakdowns of what's on the discs, because you look at things and you go, I don't know if I've seen that or not.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the Regenerations documentary from black and white to colour. That's a good apt one. I know it's an existing one. A Dandy and the Clown, one on John Pertwee. So there's some good existing ones. And then you've got, it seems to be the big addition is the Behind the Sofa. So that's and some commentaries. Now let's go on to the next one then.
I was hoping they'd say something about the colour restorations to them.
Well, maybe there is. I mean, on that first one, restoration comparison from the 2013 Blu-ray, it says there. So there's that, and title sequence. All right, here we go. So this is the Silurians, and you've got 2 discs, everybody. So you can see here, you've got the existing features. You can see the list, what lies beneath, blah, blah, blah. The new ones, well, Behind the Sofa again, clean, open, and closing titles. The Cave Monsters, 107-minute omnibus edition of the Doctor Who and the Silurians. Now, yeah, looking for Mac. Now, as we know, I think he's still in the thread. Michael Herbert, I think he is involved in, obviously, that. Splendid chapter, The Life and Times of Nicholas Courtney. That'll be good with John Culshaw. And of course, you've got On Target Malcolm Hulke anyway in the documentary. There's a few Silurian stuff and What Lies Beneath. I mean, that's looking tasty.
Yeah, no, there's certainly enough there to keep you busy. I noticed there's a colour featurette there.
Yes.
I think the colour restoration to the Silurians was okay, I think, from memory. It's been a while since I've watched it.
Yeah, I've watched it recently, actually, again. Here's disc 4, which is the Ambassadors of Death. Again, you've got there the existing features, Mars Probe 7 documentary, Michael Ferguson's Monster Masterclass. But the new ones, Behind the Sofa, and then a BBC One trailer, a longer version, almost 2 minutes. It's interesting. As everybody says, we hope there's a good cleanup going on, because we've got a lot of existing features. I'm not sure. Are we getting a lot of new stuff? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I'm really after with this one in particular, the improvement in the quality of the original material.
Yeah. And the last one, folks, before we go on to the the big debate about the Fugitive Doctor, First Doctor. Well, you've got 3 discs there to wrap it up with Inferno. It was a big mighty beast. Let me just wrap up. New features. Well, Behind the Sofa again, episode 5, an extended 71 edit overseas version, including a deleted scene. And you've got various things in the bonus disc, Terror of the Suburbs with Matthew Sweet. There's a clip from that one on the bottom left. Lucky 13, Rockets, Aliens and Spare Parts documentary with Robin Ince, and he's at the Space Museum, the National Space Museum in Britain. John Levine in Conversation, various things like that. Okay, so good stuff, eh?
Man, I think we need to move on with our debate because everyone's arguing in the chat over stuff that we're not even talking about.
Oh, that's typical. Do you know, Thread? You're like one of my classrooms. I'm teaching and you're all doing something else. But here we go. This was it. She's been interviewed, Jo Martin, in the Doctor Who magazine as well. Most of it's blah 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 about Big Finish, and I'm not interested. But it also does mention the big talking point. When asked whether her fugitive doctor fits into the season 6B theory, I mean, fancy saying that to an actress. Jo replied, "What the hell's that?" And everybody cheered. "She comes before Hartnell," the actor added. "I thought that was flaming obvious." Now, I know with everything you can be cheeky and you can be jokey and all the rest of it. Obviously, this is all for advertising for the Most Wanted, the audio on Big Finish, which we might come back to. But the big debating point, and these are two pieces from the Doctor Who magazine where she refers to this. The Fugitive Doctor was part of the Timeless Child storyline introduced in Jodie Whittaker's second season. Most of us probably inferred, since this was all about the Doctor's origins, that she predated what we'd previously been told was the first Doctor. Not so quick, says Chris Chibnall, as plans were drawn up to expand upon the world of this recently revealed incarnation in a series of Big Finish audios. The former showrunner decreed that we, and I've just taken a bit out because it was irrelevant. I think a lot of fans, says Jo Martin, are really hung up on that. Quite a few want to know, where in the canon do I come? They'll come and ask me on train journeys. I'm like, listen, you'll have to ask Mr. Chibnall because I didn't write it. All I know is that when I took the job and they were trying to explain my Doctor to me, I was told how it was going to work, that I was the first Doctor. So I was like, okay. Now, there you go. There you go. The plan, the mooted plan from Chris Chibnall, another New Who kind of, canon wrecker. He wanted to absolutely wreck Gallifrey. He wanted to wreck the Cybermen. He wanted to, the Timeless Children, Dan, is DEI gone mad, isn't it? Because you see,
he was using all of these things to virtue signal, and he was putting it on the altar, and sacrificing it to the DEI gods. That's for sure.
But it was just, I thought, oh my God, there's a child from there, right? There's a child from there.
Do you know, it took me 8 months to get back to Doctor Who after Timeless Child. I was that pissed off. Yeah. I think I spent a lot of money in chats letting my rage out. And basically, I nearly just threw everything out. It felt to me like someone, the rule the kind of the unwritten rule that you don't say who the Doctor is. I got out of that episode with my jaw on the floor, just going, he friggin' just told me where the Doctor came from. It was enough to make me go, well, what's the point?
Yeah. Yeah. It's called Doctor Who, and suddenly you give a vision. And to be honest,
an unsatisfying one, then he didn't pay off.
Yeah, and after 50 odd years, a very wise person, not letting their ego go wild, although we all saw him on that open air when his teenage ego went wild. Nobody would think, after all this time, it's not a good idea to just give one version of what the Doctor might have been. It's just because it will never live up to it. There's no world that exists. You've got 50 years of people's imaginations. You just can't go there. A wild person wouldn't go there. And the Timeless Children just seem to be a very naive amateur attempt at giving us an origin story. And of course, it didn't land. It wasn't well executed. The the fans didn't like it. So basically, your target audience was going, "What? It's left a mess." RTD, whether we think he's in a wise version at the moment or not, has avoided talking about it. Really, he's avoided it. But it has left us with the Fugitive Doctor. My concern, Dan, is we go to Big Finish, that she'll do a series. They dabble with various things. They talk about the chameleon circuit. They talk about why the TARDIS looks like the TARDIS version you see with the Fugitive Doctor. And before you know it, RTD, if he still hangs around, might be very tempted. And there's rumours she might be in season 2. I just feel as though it'll ruin the program. It'll come back.
Look, at the moment, they could do whatever they like. I don't think you can make this era any worse. It's and not many people are watching, so it's kind of like go nuts, guys. Because one thing I did hear this week was that RTD had said that Doctor Who's forever, and I actually agree with that. I think that it will outlive all of us, and it'll go. If it goes away for a while, it'll come back.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Let's bring in the thread properly. You've all been champing at the bit, and this has been the topic I've been getting you salivating over. So, David Harding, good to see you. Now, oh gosh, something new here. I'm not new to this concept. William Hartnell is and always will be the first Doctor. Even the Time Lords knew that. Yeah, they did, didn't they? In the 3 Doctors. I mean, you'd have to change the scripts and everything. Peter Harrington, my Doctor Who twin. For me, she doesn't exist. That's how I get by. It's such a shame, though. I mean, she's not a bad.
No, I like the Fugitive Doctor. I thought she was showed more character than Jodie's Doctor in less episodes. Yeah, straight out of the gate.
Divine and Dragons sat somewhere. He's either in his classroom or he's about to go to school. Capaldi would not reveal himself or change for billions of years in the confession dial. So Joe Martin being totally pro-violence is a betrayal of character. Raymond Williams, good to see you as well. True Doctor Who fans should boycott Big Finish. They are rewriting history. Well, trying to. They won't succeed, but they won't stop until they are stopped. I've never been in... You see, this is the thing, Dan. In the 90s, people were saying, well, in the wilderness years, they were actually good for people and Doctor Who in a way because Big Finish and all the ideas and all the rest of it. I get that, but I actually was just getting on with life, trying to survive without Doctor Who because, unfortunately, Doctor Who wasn't on the TV, and that's all that counted for me. And this Big Finish stuff was I feel humoured. I feel patronised when I hear that. Can you remember when in the wilderness years, I think there was a John Pertwee radio serial. Is it The Paradise of Death? With Sarah.
Actually, I've got these here. Paradise of Death.
Yeah, and so we're
Ghost of End Space.
I know, and this is what I mean. I felt a bit humoured or patronised. You're wanting the Doctor Who TV programme to come back, and you're waiting patiently and you're hoping. Then they announce that the Ghost of End Space or something like that is coming out on radio. And my parents and everyone would say, Doctor Who's back on radio, and you're going, but that's not it.
No, it doesn't count.
It doesn't. That's it. I'm sorry. It doesn't count. And I bought it. I don't think I even listened to it. I bought the book, didn't read it. It's just as a purist. However, I wanted it on TV. So this Big Finish thing, I've never been sold on. But now I see that, we'll have Jodie Whittaker's Doctor in Big Finish. We'll dabble with that and the Yaz relationship. We've got the Fugitive Doctor, and we'll maybe play with her origins a little bit more. I'm sorry, but all you need is a weak, bored, lazy showrunner of the TV show to go, I'll have that.
Well, it's interesting how our brains, for me, it's like telesnaps never did it for me. Never really watched them. Couldn't do it. I would listen to the audio just by itself before I watch a telesnap. But it's interesting because I've watched a few of Ian Levine's recreations for Dalek Master Plan, and to me, I felt like that's if it passes. Like I felt like I watched the show.
Yeah. And of course, our thread, they've been wanting this subject. I mean, you get triggered by things. Neo Gear, good to see you. I see it as race change. I see it as race changing, as blackwashing, the same as whitewashing. You would not turn a black character white. Well, Bridgerton, look at all that. You see, what is it about this culture now? It just seems to be, we seem to be saying that everybody's blended, and it's denying the fact that they are cultural differences. Now, remember, I'm talking about culture, not skin. There's cultural differences. Of course they are. Britain and Australia, of course, have a lot of links, but equally, there's a lot we don't have links with now because Australia's modernized. There's historical links, there's language links, there's family links, but also Australia has vastly changed.
And Australia was also a lot of things was done differently here because the people that were setting it up at the time said, "Hey, we've got a chance for a fresh start here. Let's do things.
Yeah,
let's take what's good, but let's not have classes. Let's not, let's change how it works." So our class system's very different to the UK, as I understand.
Well, you see, I always laugh at the Aussies because they say we're classless, but then you see how they do things slightly differently. They have their own version of a class system. They do. They just say they don't. It just makes me laugh. Makes me laugh. It's all about money.
It's just Aussies and Poms.
Yeah, and you love your larrikin. That whole idea of the larrikin and Ned Kelly. It's like, oh, you're just like a rebel. You're like somebody who takes on the system. Peter Harrington. The division is the right word to explain this nonsense. It's interesting, isn't it? I never thought of it like that. I never wanted the division back.
I actually was interested. I really wanted to get into the division. I thought I actually like a spin-off on the division. That would actually be interesting. But when you get to the end of the season, you realize he doesn't know what the division is, and he doesn't really have anything interesting to say about it.
But this is the level of show running now, and it has been for a while. I'll come up with an idea. I'll give it a name. I won't have an explanation, and I will not give you an explanation at any point. And don't you dare ask me questions about it. And I will just churn out this crap. Mind you, I have to say, me and Jamie were watching last night Silver Nemesis. And it was Jamie who said it. And Jamie said, it just seems to be lots of isolated scenes joined together by supermarket music. And I said, I know. There seems to be no development or explanation. Lady Painfort, how come the Cybermen know what she's called? How come this? How come that? How come a witch can go and time travel? It's all neat for a Silver Nemesis 25th anniversary, but if that's Andrew Cartmel being clever, I just thought the whole thing was a hot touch of separate.
Have you watched the interview with Kevin? Is it what's his name? The chap who wrote, Kevin Clark, is he the one who wrote it?
I think it was McCullough did the Silver Nemesis, if I was looking at right. Kef.
No. I mean the who wrote the actual story.
Oh,
I think it was Kevin Clark. But he literally was a young fella that just apparently was just like ticking things off a candy store list. It was just, I'll do this and I'll do this. And I mean, he clearly ripped off the end out of Remembrance of the Daleks.
We see, this is the problem with when Doctor Who's been on a long time as well. We can't have our cake and eat it in a way. It's hard. We want the show to last and be proper Doctor Who. But the longer it lasts, the more the current lot of writers do lazy tricks. So, for example, I like Revenge of the Cybermen. The snag with Revenge of the Cybermen is the gold vulnerability. And it's been used in so many cheap and tatty ways since, as if the Cybermen design themselves and say, just make sure the panel here can be hit by a Silver Nemesis golden arrow, and just the touch of it.
Look, I agree. The lack of scientific understanding, and this comes back to what's his name? Jerry Davis wrote. Who they were science fiction writers. The concept of, and this is where people who actually got some skills and scientific knowledge, they understand metallurgy and gold plating, as a scientific method of coding metals, if you put in, the scientific, Tom Baker mentions it in about 3 seconds, that gold is a non-corrodible metal that'll plate your breathing apparatus. Scientifically, that kind of makes total sense to me, and I go, cool. But you're right. And then later on, it's like people, they're carrying on like they're allergic to it or something. Like they're going to come out in a rash if they touch gold, or if you shoot it into the chest unit or something. It's just so stupid because, and that's the whole point of the glitter gun. The glitter gun works by spraying gold into the chest unit. Thus plating the breathing
and I just think they would have, come on, we can redesign the Cybermen. So, come on, they haven't just said, and let's make sure we have a very big flaw and vulnerability there. Paul Richards, The Timeless Children was an attempt to bring mystery back to the Doctor's character, but it was way too specific. Yeah, to bring mystery back, you make everything clear. It's like, I do think Joe Martin was stronger than Jodie and Gatway. Yeah, that was called bad writing by the showrunner who ballsed it up. You never do that. You never challenge your main character. However, though, Dan, let's be honest, all these companion-centric stories, like the Millie Gibson story, Ruby Sunday's story in season 1, that diminished any development of the Doctor because it was all about her.
And look, I think the having, alluding to the Doctor once being dangerous and all this kind of stuff, I think is actually they're good things to sow, But the trick to doing that is don't linger on it. They've got to be fleeting mentions. You just can't show it. If you get into it, then it's no longer Doctor Who.
Is it? You see, my theory is starting to be, and I showed you the clip of RTD saying he'd never come back, and he's out of stories. As Thinking says here, no ifs, no buts. There can only be one. The only first Doctor is William Hartnell. Anything else is just a liar and imposter. Anyone with an ounce of common sense knows that. And don't come at me with your, well, he was the first on screen, blah, blah, blah. Look, I know we say this, but the trouble is we've got a showrunner, and this is my theory. They are bored with the Doctor Who concept. They are bored with the Doctor character, and they're trying to tweak, change, add a bit of spice. As Peter Harrington said a bit earlier in the thread, isn't the division just the Celestial Intervention Agency? Well, I would have blooming thought so. Otherwise, it's heavily bureaucratic. It's my toy now, and I don't like the fact that there's a CIA made by Robert Holmes, so I'm going to come up with my own. I'm bored, and so I'm going to make the War Chief the Master. I'm bored, so I'm going to do the bi-generation. It just seems to me we've got people who are actually just wanting to take this, the money, but they don't have any fresh ideas. I think that's why they're saying, here's a brilliant story about everybody being black, because I think there's one of those in season 2. They're trying to just do DEI as an interesting point. They're trying to come up with some crazy new concepts to make the Doctor interesting. Look, he's black and he's gay and he's emotional. No, you're bored.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that came into the negotiations when they were trying to get RTD involved again, because I do believe him when he said he was out and he'd given all he had. I think that's fair, and what we're seeing on screen says that as well. Like, we have got a lot of recycling going on.
Yeah.
But if someone came to me and said, here's a couple of mil, suddenly I'd have ideas would just come from nowhere.
Now, well, I think you're on the money. Problem being, good to see you. I know I'd seen him on Wednesday, and I love having him on because he will tell me about the Fitzroy Tavern all the time. But then the Fitzroy clique should have left. Once they get bored, corruption sets in. They're corrupt, and they've corrupted the Doctor. No, that's what I think. That's like when you have a computer that actually has developed baggage. We all know you try and do a disk cleanup, you try and do all these things, but you can't beat having a brand new computer, fresh and buzzing and fast. And as you know, I think if you see Doctor Who as a 61-year-old computer, it's slow here, it's creeping there. And what they're trying to do, I think, is some kind of, fast shot new program. The trouble is, all you just need to do is clean it up. And you know what? I was watching Verity Lambert the other day. It was the season 25 set, and she's on open air because it's 25 years Doctor Who. And I like to go back to Verity Lambert. She sat there with pieces of paper in the early 60s and had to do something with this concept. And I know they ask her, they say, how long were you on the program? 18 months. And you go, oh, I know, but RTD's got an overall 20 years. The trouble is, in those 18 months, time rotor, police box, the sound effect, the music, the actor, she picked everything. So this woman, I think, is a brilliant go-to. And in the open air clip, she said, I don't think she means what Andrew Cartmel did. She said, we just need to go back to basics, go back to the Doctor, just doing what the Doctor does. We don't talk about the Doctor. The Doctor doesn't talk about himself. He's not a narcissist. The Doctor travels. The Doctor cares. The Doctor was born on Gallifrey. The Doctor just travels, is a do-gooder in a nice way.
I think Andrew Cartmel deserves a lot more credit than he's given as a very young script editor, because I mean he managed to foster a whole new generation of writers in the show at a very difficult time. And to be honest, those episodes stand up so well today. They are still some of the most interesting episodes of Doctor Who, in my view.
Right.
And they do give the Doctor back his mystery after 30 years, 25 years.
So Lee Smith, you've said the concept that I couldn't get in my head. I'm not a technical, Jamie helps me with all this. It's amazing I actually managed to make a show. Reset to factory settings. Reset Doctor Who to factory settings. Dead easy. I think you could almost get Sidney Newman's little kind of, back of fag packet description. You could get some of the early stuff from David Whittaker and go, right, that's where we're going. Now, I actually disagree with you, Dan, on Andrew Cartmel. I'm not an Andrew Cartmel lover. I didn't like what they were doing with, and I know some people will not like this, but I was obviously of an age. Sylvester McCoy wasn't really my Doctor. I knew he went darker. That was better than being light. I agree with that. But I got sick, especially season 25, the Hand of Omega. And now we have the Silver and Nemesis statue. And it's like, oh, for God's sake. It's as if he's like a...
I love all those episodes.
No,
I love Silver Nemesis.
I thought they made the Doctor into a space womble, that he was littering the universe with clutter. Oh, yes, I left that bow and arrow there. Oh, yes, I left that hand over there. No. Just stop it. Just go on a blooming adventure. So I was... we're kind of watching with gritted teeth Silver Nemesis. We are. We're like... that music, I really don't know how the music was allowed. It is an offense to sound. It really is. It's like you've got Cybermen attacking the Doctor, and you just have this kind of strange. It's as if he was the first blind composer of Doctor Who, and he never saw the footage. It's like, does he know there's Cybermen, some clangs of metal, please, or something?
I met Kath McCulloch years and years ago. Here in Sydney, and he actually signed some of my... I've got some of his music there signed, but nice chap. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, he knows it's a bit Marmite. I suppose I probably I associate it with my childhood, so
Yeah, I know.
I have a positive feeling towards it. But I get it. It is there are plenty of moments where you're thinking, yeah, wow, this is very much of its time, and it's...
But you see, Dan, I'll add this to the equation. I said the showrunners are clearly bored, hence why you need a fugitive Doctor who might be the first Doctor and all this jazz. They're bored. And I don't blame her. I mean, come on, it's a job. Joe Martin, in Instagram, 5 years ago, I looked... I booked a job that made everything better. Thank you to the BBC, Disney, Doctor Who, and to all the fans for your continued love and support. It's not wasted on me. Yeah, she's loving this. Absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I've certainly got no hate for Joe Martin and this Doctor. I think
It's just that, as Raymond Williams said earlier, and I hate to almost say this, but it's the truth. You line up William Hartnell and every doctor in chronological order, and then you suddenly go, oh, what happened? And of course, you suddenly had a woman doctor. Then you had a black fugitive doctor. Then you had and you're going, oh, something happened. Just something happened. And as people, we don't all agree, and that's the beauty of this channel and this debate. But I do think this is when DI gets a little bit silly, which is you've gone from a certain type of program to a very different type of program. When I look at the choice of the writers, I'm thinking, gosh, I hope it's merit. I really do. I don't see much sci-fi background, if any.
But that's the problem. That's the curse of DEI. It undermines the why things are there.
Yes, which could be unfair. Joe.
Correct. It could. I think she is a good doctor. The problem is, it gets tied up with the politics of why she's there, not because she's a great doctor.
Yeah. Now, thinking, to be fair, you've seen your name in lights there. Apparently, David Whittaker, who I was actually saying, let's go back to basics, in the first draft for The Power of the Daleks, suggested there were other incarnations of the Doctor before William Hartnell's Doctor. Thank God it stayed as a draft. Burn it. Burn it. No evidence. It didn't exist. I know. I think they had to think carefully in those early days, but they came to the right conclusion in the end. Let's say it that way. So there's Jo Martin. She's back. I won't be buying it for no other reason. I'm not into the Big Finish. But you can see in Doctor Who magazine, everybody, she says she was told that she plays it. She is the first Doctor. Now, that is Chris Chibnall. Hallelujah, he's gone. But it just shows you how close we came to absolutely, officially wrecking Doctor Who for good. That if you really did just force that, please tell me, what TV program, what movie franchise would you do that? The first person, Verity Lambert, was the first producer who took a risk. Roris Hussein, by the way, I don't think anyone says DEI then. We just had some great, creative new people. And then, of course, you had what do I have?
That's what I find so offensive about the people making stupid comments about people being right-wing reactionaries about this stuff. Guys, these people were diverse back in 1963 when they came up with it. It always was. It was founded in diversity, and it just was. It wasn't.
And look at them, and look at the quality of the thinking of Verity Lambert and the bravery of Verity Lambert. So
I bet a lot of people don't know she was Jewish.
Yeah. Well, she was a woman. She was Jewish. I think she's got another tick. I'm not going there. She's a lovely woman, and I loved listening to her in interviews after she moved on, because, as you know, she had a movie business and everything. She was no fool. And she came across really modestly every time you talked to her. This is what amazing. She wasn't a show woman. She was just savvy. And she clearly thought things through and surrounded herself with talent. That's a strong person. And Waris Hussein, again, not a DEI, not a this, not a that, just an up-and-coming person, a director. And, of course, he'll have taken risks. Of course, his career tells you it was merit. This is how it all started. But who would dare? Why would you dare to say that is established television history, but what we're going to do is put somebody in front of that? Why? Nobody's asking for it. And if there's any fans out there said, I needed an origin story, well, go and, you need to go and get a life and go and have a cold shower, because honestly, nobody needs an origin story. That's people who just want everything to be literally fed to them on a plate. What happened to imagination? What happened to speculation? What happened to going, we'll never know, but I think it's this version. And it just dangles there. But if you met another Doctor Who fan in a pub, they'll say, no, I think it's this. And it's never shown on TV. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, because every creative show running lead got the joke, you don't show the origin of the Doctor. It's just dumb. It's bad for business.
Problem being, just confirming what we know, Verity Lambert was Jewish, and it's amazing the tolerant DEI, Be Kind Mob haven't cancelled her. Oh, I know. Problem being, the irony of life, isn't it? It's just, and as SG says, exactly, the director, Rory Suzanne, was Indian. And these are great people. So one minute we all apparently are nasty people because we question things, but merit was there. It's on screen. But,
we've only become enlightened since 2016, Brendan.
Yeah, I know.
It's the arrogance of the young people today. They think they invented everything in the last 10 years.
David Hardin is trying to sort this out for us. They should just reveal that she's from an alternative reality where the Doctor's mainly female and maybe David Hardin, I'd buy into that. It's quick, it's concise, it's spacey-wacy. Basically, there's an alternative reality where it's all Barbarella. Yeah, I'll go with that, and then let's get on with the Doctor being a male, and let's get on with it. Yep, that's fast. I could do that. Yeah. So,
what do you think that if they'd gone female Doctor and less northern, it might have landed a bit better too?
What, with the Chris Eccleston thing?
Yeah, like I think Chris Eccleston as a northerner, a more northern Doctor, I found it really fresh. But I don't know if this undermined Jodie's performance. I didn't find that combination that good. Anyway.
No. Well, there's some great stuff being said now, so I'm going to jump to some of these. I mean, gosh, there's some great ideas. So, Paul Richards agrees with what David's just said. I never rated RTD highly like others did. He's a soap writer rather than a science fiction writer. Agreed. Simon Anthony, the timeless children's origin is hardly solid. Loads of new questions there. Yeah, unnecessary though, Simon. Let's just have a good adventure. Sci-fi concept. Let's not get... Isn't it a bit narcissistic to just keep talking about yourself and the Doctor in the program? And oh no, stop it! It's just a web of mess. Go on an adventure. Keep looking outward. Keep discovering new places. I like the concept of the original Star Trek to boldly go where no one's gone before. Let's just keep going. Let's not say, right, I'm Captain Kirk and I'm going to have a meta crisis. And do you know what? I've just got the shakes today. How did I get to be captain? And I'm just challenging myself. So the whole episode today is about why am I a captain? Oh no!
And I'm gonna pick up a companion that's just key to all things.
Yeah. I need a 19-year-old on the crew to keep me right. So if this was Star Trek, this captain of this spaceship, this cruiser through, the new frontiers. I need a 19-year-old girl to go, but what about that? You saw what happened in Star Trek 2 when that happened. I think you're breaking the rules. And Spock said, shut up. He's the captain. He's admiral. Anyway, problem being, if Verity Lambert wasn't keen on Pertwee, Davis and Colin Baker Tennant, we know for sure she would be raging against Whittaker, Martin and Gatwa.
Yeah, but that problem being that kind of undermines the argument then. Because it's like that all those other ones were great Doctors. So,
however, it also shows you that she had a standard. I'm happy in a debate to say I would have preferred to have gone back to Verity Lambert for advice, and as a sage, even though I don't agree with everything she says. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy to go there because she was the originator. I have to say, my respect for her is too high for me to say. However, I don't like that bit that she said. No, she risked everything. She had fights, and she probably risked getting the sacks into Sydney Newman. I'm putting the Daleks on. I give too much credit to that. And William Hartnell had a good career, and William Hartnell took a risk. And I really think it is abuse. It's just disrespect of the highest order. It is unnecessary to actually say, we've just decided 60 years later to put this person right in front. No. No, it's out of order. It's just it's not needed narratively. All the people who watch TV and now and again watch Doctor Who couldn't give a toss. Thinking Chibnall's hiding in a cave in Tibet in case he gets jumped on by the fans since he left the show. Where is he? Where is he? He's just written a book called The White Heart. Peter Harrington, Verity had a love for her subject and so enjoyed her work. And after she left, her body of work is amazing. And she moved on and she went on to better things. If you could be honest about it, movie industry, Minder, the lot. Isn't it interesting? RTD's had to come back. He's had to come back. It's a Sin was fine, but I think he was running out of ideas. Why would?
Yeah,
Because he could have done the 3 specials and said, well, I'm sorry, BBC. I've got so many ideas. I've got only so much life and I've got things to do. I've got ideas I want to write. Sorry, Doctor Who, you had me once. I've set it off for you again. Bye. But he hasn't. He's hanging around like a bad smell because where's all his other ideas?
Be interesting to see how he takes it if they cancel the show on him.
Well, he's written season 3. He keeps telling everybody who wants to buy it, I've written season 3 because he's trying to hawk it out there. Peter Harrington in Quiet Dead was the episode that got me back in. I was unsure. That episode felt like Doctor Who. The pre-credits surprised me. I suddenly thought, oh yeah, a bit of that. I like the way the Doctor talked to Dickens. I like that how you can do that interaction with a historical figure. I kind of like that. There were lots of lovely little touches in Unquiet Dead. You know that moment when the TARDIS lands and Rose touches snow? They've forgotten those little bits were really insightful and hadn't been really done in Classic Who. I thought those were brilliant touches.
Yep, I agree.
And I think I know. So on the Fugitive Doctor argument, is anybody saying she's the first Doctor? Anybody? I'm not seeing anybody say that. But what I want to say is, I said that my theory is the showrunners are bored. The showrunners are out of ideas. Well, remember that I said this 2 weeks ago when I looked this up again. Stephen Moffat, when he was interviewed in 1996, and he was just a fan then, slagging off William Hartnell. You see, I think they were willing to go there. We'll have the Fugitive Doctor before William Hartnell because the disrespect is there in the lines. Or he didn't know his lines. And it's a sort of a minimum requirement of the lead actor, Dial. He knows marginally more about what's going on than the audience. In truth, says Stephen Moffat, William Hartnell being replaceable was his greatest gift to the series. And then he can't help himself when he's then talking about Patrick Troughton because he says, Troughton was marvellous, far more than the dispensable, misremembered Hartnell. Now, when you've got showrunners, because that's what he became, and people like Chris Chibnall, the disrespect for William Hartnell's there. Therefore, they would have done the Fugitive Doctor as the first Doctor. You just know it.
Yeah, I'm sure there would have been a time in the young fans' life where they'd think like that, but I don't know. It doesn't. It's unnecessary. It doesn't help anything. And
Dan, where's the kindness? We have to be kind nowadays, and these are all enlightened writers. We all know William Hartnell had a health condition, and actually the health condition is a version of dementia and actually does fog your brain. To say that has no kindness, no respect, and is unworthy. Why say it?
Because he's a young smartass.
Yeah, well, this is it. And they're so smartass that their Christmas specials were crap. The Joy to the World tanked. Was a bit of this, a bit of that, and a bit of the other, but it certainly wasn't Doctor Who. Stephen Moffat saying this about William Hartnell reminds me of Chris Chibnall when he was a little upstart on Open Air, slagging off Pip and Jane Baker, slagging off the Doctor Who whole production team, slagging off. Who are these people?
Well, that's their cross to bear now, because now they've overseen the most epic fail of his own era. So,
It's just
Now
that
he's got to live in ignominious shame.
yeah, but they'll all waffle on saying that they're doing the DEI to be very progressive. They're doing this because they want to be kind. They're doing this because there's a different worldview. Yeah, okay. Your actions speak louder than your words. Boomer Doug, who we will have back on, he has negotiated that with us. No. Says Moffat is a certain person. Hartnell was an excellent actor. Those early episodes were filmed as live. They only stopped for technical reasons. Fluffing lines was common, and Hartnell was also ill. And I think we've got to remember that. When I watched,
pumped out those episodes too, like in crazy. They were like acting live.
And I'm sorry, but I know this is sometimes Marmite, but Mark Gatiss's love letter to Doctor Who, that Adventures in Time and Space, I really have so much sympathy in that for William Hartnell. I really do. I've had to dismiss people. You know, sometimes we're in jobs where you have to make horrific decisions. But I'm sorry, he's the first Doctor. He always will be, and it's awful what happened to him. And he clearly didn't want it to end that way, and it's a shame it did. And actually, at this point, I will bring in, if I can just remember where it is, if everybody bears with me for 2 seconds. I don't think I've got it with me actually on this one. One of my Vox Pops was saying about William Hartnell in The Three Doctors. How could The Three Doctors have been different if he was able to have been on set? You know, can you imagine how different The Three Doctors could have been if he was a physical presence with Troughton and with Pertwee in the same TARDIS?
Oh yeah, I mean that would have really shifted the dynamics. Yeah, no, it's hard to imagine, but it would have been like putting Tom, I guess, with the Five Doctors, because the power dynamic would shift massively if Tom had turned up for the Five Doctors.
Yeah. And Peter Harrington's mentioned this 10th anniversary. My eyes were open. My world was just Pertwee at that time, and then to see all these new Doctors. Isn't it interesting when Patrick Troughton took over? His respect for William Hartnell was so high, and he knew, I can't copy him. Now, remember, everybody, that was a creative decision out of respect for the first Doctor. And, you know, you watch soap operas and they change actors for the same character. You know, they all do it. So basically, and, you know, there's a lot of times, you know, you see them try and play them the same and all the rest of it. Patrick Troughton had a creative decision. He could have just played it the same way because he's still the same Doctor. But he, out of respect for William Hartnell, said, we're going to do it differently. And a lot of the actors of the Doctor Who since have always referred to Troughton as the brave one, which he was. He was. But, you know, he's the template. Troughton set the template for how Doctors should be. And I get that. But is it also because they're all avoiding being William Hartnell? Let's be honest. Because he was the one. He was the one.
Yeah, I mean, all those early Doctors were very much their own person, weren't they? They were effectively I suppose, an alter ego of themselves.
Yeah. And it wasn't William Hartnell at all, was it? It really wasn't. Had Hartnell been present for the Three Doctors, the first Doctor would have been willing to direct his younger counterparts. Oh, it would have been good because he's the original. And in the Three Doctors, there's a lovely little bit. I love seeing Patrick Troughton's face at one point. There seems to be a real affection for the first Doctor on the screen. And doesn't the second Doctor have a line and he says, because I've always had a lot of respect for him, wasn't it? It is.
Yes.
Yeah. And I like that. Or you could have, I mean, God help us if we had a multi-Doctor story with bloody 15 Doctors, if it was ever possible. But you know what I mean? But then the first Doctor should always be above them, I think.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think things by necessity are going to move forward because, you know, those early Doctors are obviously not going to be with us or can't be with us anymore. No. So I think it's, you know, it's important. I mean, that's what they wanted the show to do, move on.
Yeah.
But, you know, no reason to go back and shit on the past, so beg your pardon.
No, well, no, I mean, bottom line is there's something about respect. When you talk about
Mm,
being kind and you talk about all these amazing progressive things now that we never had in the past, apparently, to then, in a narrative way and a permanent way, possibly deprive William Hartnell's CV of saying he actually was the first Doctor with some stupid recanonization of something. The ego is off the scale and the disrespect is off the scale. You know, Chris Chibnall, you're the umpteenth producer of Doctor Who. You're nothing special. You're not the first. You're not starting from scratch like you did with Broadchurch. I'll respect you more for Broadchurch, but even then, that's of a genre. But to dare deprive somebody of doing something in television history is just madness. And I would hate any school kids I taught to have that amount of disrespect for anyone. We've all said, you know, there's lovely cultures out there, the Japanese culture where you respect your elders. Why
mm.
the hell do we want to undermine that seniority that they did something before we did? I just hate it. It's yeah.
Well, we know why they wanted to do it. That's fairly obvious. But should they have done it? No.
No, and they nearly did. Anyway, just to keep the detox going for a second, I am always going to make this argument. Isn't this Doctor Who, Dan? Isn't this Doctor Who? That's all Doctor Who has to be, doesn't it?
Mm. Brains in glass jars. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
I mean, do you know what? If that's what Verity Lambert's getting at, can we please just go back to scaring the kids, making it dark? Just come on. The parents will sit back going, well, this is really good babysitting for the kids because the kids are enthralled.
Mm.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I want kids to be, crying and wanting their parents throughout the night because of all the trauma and the nightmares.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy. We
I,
need to give them some resilience.
It definitely is healthy. I definitely agree. Imagination is one of the best gifts you can have. As I said
Mm.
about reading, you may not have all the money in the world. You may never even leave your own country, but you can travel. And books and stories do that. And Doctor Who was one of the biggest gifts out there to do that. You can go anywhere. You can be anything. It's fantastic. Why have we limited it so much to a DEI kind of nonsense cast? Now, good to see you. Call unit, not tortured. My favorite doctors are 4321. Nothing compares to them. I wonder if there's a certain age there. I mean, I agree with you, but you know what I mean. Problem being in Simon Anthony are having an argument. This happens. It's called debate, isn't it? I
It's called
would.
fandom,
It
normal
is.
fandom.
It is. Peter, meeting Hartnell and Trank was pure joy for me on VHS. The universe opened up. We all meet the Doctor relatively in our own space and time in relation to our time. It's fantastic. Yes, SG, brains in jars and goo coming out of a dead alien. Do you think season 2 will have that? Well, it'll have Snot. Sorry, season 1, Snot, the Snot monster. He's saved the Snot monster. Maybe he's coming back. But yeah, I think let's park this for a second. William Hartnell was the governor. I imagine on and off screen with Doctor Who, respect would be a common courtesy. I'd stand to attention. I think it's that kind of sense you have even with grandparents when they're no longer around, to show them how their family has developed, and actually almost the family do show due respect. Oh, you know what I mean? There's these lovely little things you'd love to say, look at what your family's done, and you started that. And with William Hartnell, it'd be lovely. I know, I'm doing timey-wimey. And Verity Lambert.
But that's what I really like about that closing scene of Mark Gatiss's adventure in space and time is that bit where they have William Hartnell at the console getting ready for that regeneration pose, and they pan across to Matt Smith.
Yeah.
To signal, look at the legacy that you've left, kind of thing. It's quite remarkable.
It is, and there is something I think in our DNA that does want us to do that. And Gary here says, I first encountered Hartnell in the 5 Faces of Doctor Who in 81, and he had me mesmerized. And may I say, yes, I love the Crotons because I found Troughton was fascinating, but I have to say, on the 5 Faces, and I'd only seen a tiny bit of him, obviously, in the 3 Doctors, but to see him in An Unearthly Child, oh, wow. Because he didn't come across as a hero. He didn't come across as, I need you to love me. He was his own man. It was brilliant. Remember, he was going to kill a caveman. Remember, he was really objectionable in part 1 with the 2 teachers. Why are you here? What are you doing? I love tension like that in a drama. That's brilliant.
For me, 93 was the first time I saw. That was when I saw Unearthly Child in 93, when they aired Unearthly Child for the 30th anniversary. That was my first foray into black and white Doctor Who with William Hartnell as the Doctor. I remember just thinking, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah. So, I think, folks, we have concluded. And if we are a vox pops of Doctor Who fans, then it would have been a very stupid thing to make the Fugitive Doctor the first Doctor. And I think now they're just going to bait us and play with us, and we're going to ignore it. It's a load of nonsense. Right. Cheer up, number 5, Detox. You know I do this, Doctor Who on this day. Now, you've got a choice of 5 today, Dan, and Thread, and you can't escape Thread. You've got to make a decision, no prevarication. I want you straight in there. Which is your go-to out of this list? On this day in Doctor Who history, you have the Romans conspiracy, okay? And just while you're thinking, Popeye plans to poison Barbara, who has become the object of Nero's affections. The Doctor is to be thrown to the lions. And Ian and Delos are set against each other in the arena. That got 10 million in 1965. Or I choose The Mind of Evil Part 1. It got 6.1 million in 1971. At the prison, the Doctor and Joe watch a demonstration of the Keller machine, which can extract evil impulses from criminals, but the experiment goes wrong and the man dies. Or are you going to go for Silurians Part 1? It got 8.8 million, 1970. Coming up soon in our lovely Blu-ray. The Seeds of Doom Part 1, 11.4 million in 1976. Or The Keeper of Traken Part 1, 7.6 million, 1981. Dan, what are you going to pick?
I've got 3. I'm down to 3. Let's just go Seeds of Doom.
Seeds of Doom. So you agree with Brian, the Zero Room, the Seeds of Doom. I mean, it's a delicious 6-parter, and I do like. It's a clever 6-parter, isn't it? It's the 2 parts in the Antarctic, and then I like that. It's a clever use. The Talons of Wenchaion does that. You're in the theatre for quite a lot of the time, and then the last 2 parts, you're at that kind of Chinese laundry thing, aren't you? You jump.
Yeah, the first 2 is the snow, and then they blow up, and then they go back to civilization. It's really cool.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with this. You said Seeds of Doom, so did Brian, so did Lee Smith. And let's just see. Yes, SG. I know they're all good ones. I was surprised when I put this together. It's the Battle of the Part 1s, which actually is my favourite as a Doctor Who fan, let's be honest. Geraint Williams, though, has gone for Silurians, as Rhys Roder. Peter Harrington's Seeds of Doom, only because I saw it at the time, and it is a hard one. But it's the memories thing. Boomer Doug loves this. The Seeds of Doom Part 1, I was hidden in the back of our Grand's council house, still with Mitzi the dog. Remember last week I was saying Mitzi the dog was barking through City of Death Part 1? Well, we're back with my grandparents, but the house was full of relatives, and it was Saturday night, and there's me saying, can I just go and watch it in another room? And so I was in the back room, the kind of the kitchen bit, and I was sat there with a tiny little TV, and it was black and white, and I was trying to see the Seeds of Doom Part 1. Meanwhile, all I can hear was laughter and everything from the family next door, and I was actually needing to exclude myself from all the fun to see what happens in the Seeds of Doom Part 1. You know, the things we do. And I remember, because it was a bit like the spearhead from space. When you look through that glass, you know, it's warped, so your face looks twisted. And I could just see the family, everybody laughing and having a good time through the glass. And there's me sat there like some little loner watching Seeds of Doom Part 1. But that's my memory anyway. So I don't know. Keep of Traken's too up to date for me. I know how you're going 1981, but for me, I was a bit older. And there was something about season 18 I felt that it was a cleaner, more sterile Doctor Who, because it was the costume and everything, the music. I know this was the JNT input, but there was something about the Keep of Traken that just feels a little bit like it was manufactured Doctor Who, if you get my gist. It was just a little bit, it knows what it's doing.
I really like that era. I think to me, it's another point where you can feel the show trying to renew itself.
Yeah. Well, these memories get people going, because Joe Chapman, who, please, will you contact me, Joe Chapman? Because I'd love to get you on or get chatting to you, because you've got an interesting background, and please DM me on X or on Sense-the-Sphere at Gmail, please. She said our too was in back rooms, being a Whovian as a kid. I know sometimes we just had to hide.
Everyone had to be back then.
Well, you see, a lot of the family hated Doctor Who as well, so there was that difficulty. As Paul Richards says, I think Keep of Traken's very theatrical, operatic, and I know it was deliberate. It was a bit like State of Decay. That whole season was a bit like that, really. Simon Anthony's now going to kill me because he thinks he worked on Keep of Traken, and there's me saying it was a bit. Farsight's buying into the Silurians. Madman in a Box, which is the name of one of my shows coming up, because we do the mental health history in Doctor Who. Says the Romans. I get a Carry On feeling watching this. Yes, well, yeah. Spooner, wasn't it? I remember being pretty scared, says Call Unit Not Torchwood, when Sarah Jane Smith was attacked by a giant spider in Planet of the Spiders. Well, yeah. And every time I was asked to write a story at school, my school books are just behind this monitor. All my school books, I've got them. And all my English ones, when I said write a story, this is at secondary school, they always had that bit in the basement with the webs and the Buddhists in a doing a meditation prayer and doing that and then suddenly the spider appears. I always sneak that into my stories, and God knows what my English teachers thought, thinking, this is a Catholic school, is he a Buddhist? And then suddenly a spider. I always had that. And I always, my mum and dad never realized that when I was doing the Planet of the Spiders, and I would recite it, I'd put bloody in the middle. So, bloody, 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 bloody. Used to love that. Sorry, it's how I got away with it. So, yes, you reminded me of that Call Unit Not Torchwood. So, has everybody made their decision? I don't think I've revealed mine. I've done my memory of Seeds of Doom and said Keep of Traken's a bit theatrical, as Paul did. I've just seen the Silurians. The Mind of Evil's quite creepy, isn't it? The Mind of Evil's quite creepy.
Yeah, I really like the Mind of Evil. That's a great, yeah. And another one where the Master crops up.
Now, you know that I have my little items. They're everywhere. Now, this is our Vox Pops in the Vortex, when we have Doctor Who fans have their opinions, and I ask Dan and the thread whether they agree or disagree, like quick mini debates. So here we go on Vox Pops in the Vortex. That was a fast one, wasn't it? Fast one. So here's the first Vox Pops in the Vortex. So Dan, John, who I'm trying to get on the show to talk about Talking TV, the snow in 2025. Sorry, I can't read. The show in 2025 is going to be bigger and madder and darker, taking wilder swings than ever, says RTD in the latest Doctor Who magazine. He's gone full on Davros, hasn't he? So massive, so merciless that the 2025 season will live in its history. I sense John's not buying into the hype.
I get it though. I've had those moments where I can imagine, RTD as Davros going, but would you do it? And he'd be like, yes, I would do it. That power would set me up above the gods.
Yeah. And he's had a season of gods, and another. Do you know there is an element going on here? It's like when I said I was watching Silver Nemesis last night, and when all the cyber ships are hidden, he couldn't see them. But RTD did that again with the season 1 back in 2005, didn't he? And then there's all the Dalek ships. Okay, if it's a good idea, do it twice. We all get that. For every Marshman coming out of the water in full circle, let's call out the Sea Devils coming out of the water. Yeah. I know. But I can see John's not buying into the hype. I think we've had too much hype. I think I referenced Davros the other day in my Bad Generate story, because I did say, has RTD pressed the self-destruct button with his choice of writers, with where we're possibly going? Has he pressed the self-destruct button on New Who? I think was my question. So I'm on the same page as John there. I don't know where everybody else stands. Sadako 24. If I press the right button, of course, would help. RTD just doesn't have the imagination to do anything different other than go bigger. And actually, I think that's where we kind of, well, in my case, clumsily say, oh, it's quintessentially British Doctor Who. Don't ruin it too much. But what I mean is it's modest. It always came across as a modest show. And when you have 1 million ships and therefore you have to do a massive reset, I think you lose the point of Doctor Who.
Yeah, no, with Doctor Who feels bigger when it actually goes small and focuses on the characters.
Good point. You should patent that sentence. It's a very clever sentence. Yes, you're right. Yeah, Doctor Who's bigger when it goes smaller. It's not my favorite story, but it's the concept of something like the Android Invasion, where it's a village first. It feels like. Doctor, the Doctor's trying to stop some. The Robots of Death is another good example, I would have said. The Robots of Death, what happens on that sand miner is crucial to civilization. If he gets it wrong, the robot, the situation will go out of control. And so therefore your head can cope with that. The Doctor has to win on the sand miner. And I think that's where Doctor Who gets it right. It keeps it tight. And as I was saying to one of my friends the other day, that moment in the Star Beast when all of the planet Earth seems to be cracking into molten, and then you have the reset button and it all joins again. On what planet is the showrunner on thinking you can get away with that sort of absolute nonsense?
Life plus life equals death. I mean, life plus death equals life.
You're doing well, because you keep quoting to me different versions of, he hasn't just made one mistake or tried to get away with one dramatic conceit. He's getting away with a whole load. Problem being, the biggest failing of New Who, looking at you, Russell, and this was touched on earlier, is that they have absolutely zero grasp of any scientific concepts. That's why RTD has gone fantasy. And remember, problem being, it's on top of that, and you said it as well, Dan, we've all said it, haven't we? The laziness is, if you go fantasy, you don't have to explain anything. It can all be hocus pocus. And even in Doctor Who, we all want some common sense. So the Pyramids of Mars Part 4 makes sense that there's a time gap of about 2 minutes for the Doctor to race back. That's it. But you need, it kind of makes a timey-wimey sense. That's all you needed. I know people can say, but Mars and Earth are quite close and time-wise. No, I know, but logically and narratively, we can live with it. But they're not explaining your death and plus death equals life. Where? And the spoon in the TARDIS, the memory TARDIS. Do you know the memory TARDIS is given quite a bypass, really, because we almost should do a show on the memory TARDIS. How? Why? Remember, Sutek was right next to the Doctor, and suddenly a memory TARDIS appeared because of Ruby Sunday. Please, can you just pass that by me again?
Please make it make sense. No.
Of course, one of the DEI people will have written the book on it and will explain it in some fantastical unicorn way. But that's not sci-fi. That's just called people. Yeah. So David Harding, yes, it's all hype. Peter Harrington's season 2 is fixed. In hindsight, a bad choice only because it will be more of the same. Well, we're going to come to the Christmas issue as well, the Christmas episode issue, because this race to get all of Disney's money spent on the spin-offs, the Christmas shows, and 2 seasons, I think it's going to bite us very soon. Lee's still hanging around. Doctor Who used to be highbrow. Agreed. And elevated childhood aspiration. Now it is the lowest common denominator. Yeah, common denominator. It's a bore. It's a bore. It's nothing special. It's not event TV. Now, you know the deniers, Lee, go on about, oh, Wallace and Gromit, it hadn't been on TV for years. That's why it got brilliant ratings. Yeah, but how different? It's now over 20 million. Doctor Who's nowhere near it. And the audience appreciation tells us the truth, that people did not enjoy Doctor Who on Christmas Day because, I don't know about you think, Dan, when I keep seeing those audience appreciation figures, and I've seen them all for all of Christmas Day, Doctor Who got the worst out of everybody. And all I can think of as a conclusion is it's because Doctor Who decided not to give the fans Doctor Who.
Look, I look at it and go, I mean, yeah, one of the Doctor Who fans are used to this too. The fact that you love your show and everyone else around you doesn't, and you have to sort of live in the closet because you don't want to get beat up at school or made fun of because you like Doctor Who. So we're used to liking a show and having everyone not like it. But when you're sitting there going, oh man, this was not good, you're going, well, if I didn't like it, why would any of my family like it?
And what's got worse, Dan, is as you've pointed out there, we used to be those outsiders who liked an unpopular show. We were used to that, right? But now what's happened is when we say we don't like something, remember, we've stuck with the show all that time. We're told it's not for you, bug off. So it's even worse. We were the outsiders, and now we're told clear off. It's our show. And it's like, whoa, hold on, you're making us outsiders again. You've missed the concept of Doctor Who, you idiots. Now, Karen Morris, I love this. Just like I like Dan's, the show goes bigger when it goes smaller. Karen, I like your point as well. Doctor Who has the range to set a story on a spaceship or in a garden shed. They just don't do garden shed stories anymore. Because they've got a budget, darling. They've got a budget. And I think that budget has been the biggest distraction to RTD. He's like a kid on Christmas Day thinking, I can spend. Remember one of his explanations when he said we've now got a bigger budget? He said, instead of having one mask of a monster, duplicated 5 or 6 times, we can now have different faces. And I thought, that's not where I'd be spending my money. So instead of one Silurian face done 5 times, we could now have a Silurian youngster.
Yeah, if it had been old pre-Disney, all the children would have looked the same.
Yeah, it's like, well, actually, there's different ways I'd have spent the money, actually, than that. And of course, Doctor Who fans have coped with that. And we all knew that camera trick. Didn't you always love that camera trick? When it did a close-up of the floor and you always saw like the robots of death. You see some robots going past, just their feet, the tin foil. And it's the same actor going past just to get the numbers up. We can cope with that. We don't need that every foot looks different and you've wasted your budget on different size shoe. No. A problem being, I'm going to have to get you on. We could have a really good debate. Doctor Who should set trends, not blindly chase them for popularity. It never did it, Lee? It never did. It was always doing its own thing. Try writing intelligently and you will find a mass audience. Yeah, get people wanting to flock to us because it's doing something different. It's doing its own thing. It's actually got so much confidence as a program. And what do I always say, Dan? I'm always saying, why did we want to be Stranger Things? Why did we want to be Star Trek Discovery? Why did we want to be X-Files? Doctor Who has such an interesting premise. It should hope that people try and follow us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time I hear RTD talking about other things, and it's like, well, if you want to go write Star Trek Discovery, go and do it.
Yeah.
Don't try and turn Doctor Who into Star Trek Discovery. That's no one wants that, but for a start, but
Nah.
I definitely don't want that.
So there's our Vox Pops number 1. That went down like a bit of a cold sick. So our next Vox Pops in the Vortex, see what everyone thinks of this one, is from Luke. One fallacy of Doctor Who needs to go off the air so it can come back better is that it assumes it'll follow the same pattern as last time. Doctor Who was only successfully revived because of the incessant hard work of RTD. It's not likely to happen again. The last bit confused me a little bit, but what's your thoughts, Dan?
I think it is false to say that it needs to go off the air. Someone just needs to make great Doctor Who and get back to hit the factory reset button.
Yes,
it definitely needs new creative vision, and that's not RTD or Moffat. They need to be retired, guys. Getting a few decent stories, getting 5 seasons out of those guys is an amazing achievement, but expecting them to come back 20 years later and just keep recycling, they're over it. They're past it.
So can the thread, and Dan, help me out here. I kind of buy a little bit into the top bit, but when it says it was because of the incessant hard work of RTD, I thought he was doing other stuff. What have I missed something? Was he doing lots of hard work and behind the scenes to get it back? Because I got the impression Big Finish were doing their thing. We had the Doctor Who movie that sadly failed in America. What?
I thought it was Lorraine Heggessy that wanted it to come back, and they went and approached RTD.
Another woman. I applaud Lorraine Heggessy, brave woman.
Yep.
She actually, I have to say, my God. Oh, I'd love to talk to her. Lorraine Heggessy, she's controller of BBC One, and she goes, I'm going to come up with a show about ballroom dancers, celebrities. I'm going to come up with bringing back Doctor Who. She had a list. She wanted family TV back when I'm sure all those mostly male BBC executives were laughing behind her back. Well done. Do you know what? We've been praising Verity Lambert today, and I'm going to, well done. I think good call out. Lorraine Heggessy. Absolutely. Well done, Lorraine Heggessy. She was brave enough because, the BBC executives, as has always been acknowledged, were laughing about Doctor Who in the 80s. Actually, so have the Bad Wolf team. You've seen my quotes the other day saying it was all pastiche 80s stuff. But yeah,
I also believe people approached her and said, Michael Grade's coming back onto the as chair, I think. Are you sure you really want to do this?
Yeah.
I think they nearly cancelled it again because he was coming back, and so against it.
So what does everybody think of this? Now, remember, there's the argument's interesting that it's a fallacy to say that Doctor Who needs to go off the air so it can come back later. I can't think of any alternative. I'm speaking to the Luke here because Simon Anthony was still in our thread and was one of our panelists. His argument, give it a bit more time. Give it a bit more time. More time at the moment just means that more cannons getting bust. There's more.
Brendan, I look at this. I look at this commercially. All it needs is for the owners of Bad Wolf to realize that they're off course and to say, we've got to fix this deal. RTD, you're fired.
Yeah.
Simple. He doesn't need to go off air to do that. You can sack him tomorrow and start again.
Except I know what you're saying, Dan. I get it. I think there needs to be a little bit of thinking time. So, yes, they appoint some other showrunner. Or let's get back to producers. But I do think the BBC, whoever's into Doctor Who, there might be one person because they're useless. Whoever's defending Doctor Who and lobbying for Doctor Who, they need to sit down and go away for a writers' weekend workshop or something and actually work out, right, where were the mishits? Where have we gone? It's a very old show now, so we do need to kind of go back to basics or do the factory reset, as Lee Smith said. We need to do something to bring it back, to feel a love again for Doctor Who. And so in a way, Dan, I want a bit of a pause.
No pause. You and I could fix this in a weekend. We just sit down, nail this out, get this right. Everyone in the chat could nail this in the weekend. We'll sit on a stream and come up with a new season.
Well, David Harding says you are so wrong. No, I think the show needs a long break, 10 to 15 years, knowing the risk that I might not be alive for its return. It needs to put some serious time between Chibnall, RTD2 and whatever comes next. Hopefully not as long as that, David, but I actually do think a gap is needed. The British public, I think, see Doctor Who as linked with all the agendas. It's become a bit of a mockery for some people. People have made that link, and I think we need to detox. Never mind this show. We need to detox from what we've seen. People still remember there was a female doctor. People still remember the doctor's been acting a bit gay. I think there's a few things that need sorting out.
Yeah, but you could erase that. Like, you could erase that overnight with a decent doctor casting that goes more traditional and just lean into, this just, it doesn't need 15 years to come up with the solution, that's for sure. Plus, I don't want to have to put up with Dwayne telling us, to watch audio for the next decade.
Yeah, you see, everybody, because Dwayne he said he's got a life today, and he's doing some.
Yeah.
So while he's away,
he's watching Image of the Fendal.
Yeah, yeah, he's watching Image of the Fendal, and he's realised he loves it, so he didn't come back on. Problem being, Rose was just a cheap, dumbed down rip-off of Spearhead from Space without all that explaining where the atoms came from. Yes, when you look back, Lee and Dan, when you look at the Rose episode, the explanation at the end was really naff. The nesting consciousness. Yes, it was a cheap imitation. I have to say, RTD2 has meant that when I look at RTD1's era, I'm actually noticing a lot more things I don't like.
You see cracks now.
Yes, and if he'd stayed away, there was maybe half a chance that we didn't see the patterns redeveloping again. Yeah, I know there is a bit of a problem there. Well, he's done it now. Final Vox Box in the Vortex. And here we go. What do you reckon to this one? This is from Philip Morris, who we had on 2 weeks ago and was great fun, and I'm trying to get him on again. He says, Doctor Who is a zombie franchise. Just like with The Acolyte, it is the culmination of multiple failures that is the signature on the death certificate. Now, you can see where he stands. Dan, where do you stand?
I agree that Star Wars is definitely shafted right up the wazoo at the moment. I think his assessment of that franchise is true, but I think Doctor Who can be reset a hell of a lot easier. As I said, if my board's not happy with how my company's going, they'll walk in and fire me and put a new person in charge tomorrow, and the business will reboot under new leadership. That's what Doctor Who needs, and it could be a completely different show overnight. I agree, it's not going to sustain any more failure, but I do think it could be recovered right now if they admit failure.
Oh, you know how these media executives, even the Disney ones, they never like to acknowledge failure. What they do is they reshoot the whole of Snow White again.
Yes.
That's not a mistake.
It needs a controller like Sidney Newman to say, that was crap. Actually, go and reshoot it. Rewrite Space Babies. That was rubbish.
Yeah, can you imagine it? I mean, so look, I'm seeing no disagreement in the thread, but it's an interesting concept because that means Doctor Who's basically dead man walking and it needs a rest. But it's an interesting
I
idea.
think it's actually dead at the moment. I think it's been cancelled.
Well, hopefully I don't get cancelled now. As you can see there, just for a minute, everybody, I'm seeing some great new people in the thread. Please subscribe or spread the word just that we do exist. We do two shows on a Friday, this one, and then at 7 p.m. tonight, we're live tonight, me and Rachel on That Was the Week That Was Woke. And if you've not seen it before, we cover the whole week of woke issues from Captain America, will be on tonight, the Oscars and everything. But here's a little snippet of what we normally do. So there you go. That's tonight at 7 p.m. We're live. You've all been asking us to go live. So we're going to be live. So join us live on That Was the Week That Was Woke. Now, I've been mentioning there's another item here. It was in actually the Doctor Who magazine, but Den of Geeks picked it up. Now, Dan, I don't know if you'll have seen this. The Doctor Who showrunner, still RTD, confirms that the 2025 Christmas special wasn't ordered with season 15. So he says, I'm confident that Doctor Who is forever and the future is bright. Well, that's blooming up so. For actual news, yeah. But he does actually say that when we get into the reads of actually what happened with the Disney contract is and I think we did the thread about a week ago at the show about a week ago, and I think we thought there was a Doctor Who special. But if you really look at it in that second paragraph, Davies specifies the contents of what he calls the first order. It simply means the first order of 3 specials, 2 seasons of Doctor Who, and a 5-episode spin-off, 26 episodes in total. So, he then goes on to saying, obviously we list there The Joy to the World, the 8-episode series 15, and Legend of the Sea, old thing, A 2025 Christmas special wasn't part of the initial package, and so presumably its fate hangs in the same balance as the potential 3rd series with Ncuti. If a decision isn't made until, say, April or May of this year, would that make it too late for a 2025 Christmas special? I would have blooming thought so, with the production values needed. They're saying not necessarily, although filming on the 2024 festive episode was wrapped by late 2023, that was an unusually long lead time. The 2015 Christmas special, The Husbands of River Song, was filmed in September and wrapped just 3 months before it aired. The sets are there. I agree on that one, I suppose. But anyway,
I've heard that I've heard rumors that the TARDIS has been pulled down, and if that's true, I don't think that set is meant to come apart.
He doesn't say that here in the Doctor Who magazine 613, as it says here. He says the sound stages are all there, the studios are all still there. The TARDIS he does actually refer to the TARDIS. There, look, the last line. The TARDIS sits in shadow like a secret. All he says is if you go near it, you can hear all the creaking of the furniture because it's just. And he says in February, if what he wants is a bit of PR to make some trailers for season 2, that this will all come back into action. So I know
I think this is older though. So you know how this is like current published now. I think that's like 3 months ago in our time.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's happened already.
Are you buying into this bad wolf, that photograph and that advert saying the studios are empty and they were hawking for new
Yeah, I've just got a feeling.
Okay.
Just got a feeling.
What does everybody think? He says that the Bad Wolf Studios are now so big that they have a road between the studios, and he says that there's another industry is made at Bad Wolf TV, and he said he's got friends on that show, and he said he says I know they're roughly over there, but he said it's so vast, the area. So it's a massive complex. And so this idea that Bad Wolf is advertising saying we've got some spare studio space, I think makes sense because industry will have finished filming. Doctor Who has finished filming, but it sounds as though they're saying the Doctor Who main sets are still there. What does everybody think? I mean, and anyway, the main deal here, Dan, is after seeing the Joy to the World Christmas special, I do not miss Christmas specials. I really don't. They just make Doctor Who a laughing stock. It's another wasted moment, and it's a wasted episode. I would have preferred, Dan, to have a 9-episode season of just normal Doctor Who stories.
Yeah, and I'd have preferred to have Silurians in the series as well without a spin-off.
Yeah, I was never saying, oh yeah, I want more Torchwood. I was never. No, I love Liz Sladen, but even the Sarah Jane Adventures, in a way, I found always as a distraction. If you've got all that money, I'm not after the Whoniverse. I just want more Doctor Who, and of course, I'm a creature of having about 28 episodes a year. Budget nowadays. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. Well, hold on a minute. At one point, you were making 13 episodes of Doctor Who. You were doing Sarah Jane Adventures, and you were doing Torchwood. There was plenty of money going around. I agree. Logically, your main actor, the Doctor, would be too stretched over a year. Oh, maybe we can have a bit more respect for William Hartnell again, then, eh? And Troughton, yeah. But yes, I don't know what the thread thinks, but I really don't want Doctor Who Christmas episodes just for the sake of them. And remember, Dan, we've read about this with RTD saying he contacted Stephen Moffat and said, can you do me a favor and write the Christmas special? Because he was busy doing others. You think, oh my God, it's just like, can you just...
Well, the other thing is, I think I was reading interviews with Stephen Moffat. It sounds like when he was writing it, he was literally just writing it on the run, on the train each afternoon after they'd done a bit of filming or rehearsal or whatever, because he was like adding things in willy-nilly by the sound of it.
Yeah. Oh, you mean the lesbian character from James Bond's Dr. No? All these little Easter eggs, as Stephen Moffat likes to call them, little Easter eggs, aren't they? Fantastic. Just make sure the plot works. Hey, what about this? What about this? I liked this shot in the trailer for season 2. But now in the Doctor Who magazine, RTD has done his usual trick of saying, now, the cartoon man you saw, his voice is an old friend of the show. Guess who? That's what RTD says, right? That's it. Titbit. And of course, people saying, oh, is it Nick Briggs? Oh, is it this? Oh, is it that? Look, I'm not exactly excited about who the voice is. I'm intrigued about that character and maybe using the budget in that way once. What are your thoughts, Dan?
Yeah, these are the sorts of things these days I'm not really interested in. These guessing games. It doesn't... there was a time where I used to hang off these tidbits, but I'm just like, it'll be some obscure thing that just, it's like, okay, whatever.
It's getting a bit desperate, isn't it, to say, oh, I've got some news. The voice of a character is an old friend of the show. Well, it's a 61-year-old show. I mean, I'm sorry, throw the encyclopedia of actors at me. Where do I start? It's like, let me pour through. Do you know what, everybody? I'm going to stream every minute next week with another idea of another actor it could be. Oh, God, who cares? It's not enough. Now, there's some... There's some great ideas coming from the thread at the moment. I can feel where we all stand here. It's a bit like that. You're 5 minutes to the class to the school bell, and everybody's kind of getting a little bit kind of restless now, and with all crazy different ideas. Karen, please write to me. Please. Well, Bad Wolf is 7 stages that come to 140,000 square foot, and they'll say all 140,000 are up for rent. It's 255,000 feet altogether, including backlot and car park. You can park a car there then, huh? Thanks for that. Call unit, JMS was interested in being the showrunner for Doctor Who. Do you guys think it'd be good? Oh, what's his name again? Yeah.
That's the Babylon 5 guy?
Yes. The answer, call unit, is
Yeah,
yes.
but see, the problem with that is it's like Babylon 5 was literally 30 years ago, 25 years ago. Like, he's, that's like getting RTD back.
Well, maybe. I wouldn't give anyone a slam dunk. You do what it used to be called a job interview, and you used to.
Hey, give us a pitch.
Yes, because remember the story about RTD coming back for the 3 specials and then never going was that he suddenly quickly said, "Oh, I've got loads of ideas," and apparently he mentioned Sutek and this and that. And to be honest, that's a kid in a sweet shop. As I've said in my saloons, he's like the toy maker. All he's done is it's not a job interview. They've done a phone call, Zoom meeting with him. And as he sat there thinking, oh, go on then, I'm interested in this and wonder what the size of the check is, suddenly they go, have you got any ideas for Doctor Who? And remember, I had Philip Morris on 2 weeks ago, and Philip Morris said he met RTD in the interregnum, between RTD 1 and 2. And RTD said, have you got any ideas for Doctor Who? Because patently he didn't, and he just thought, what do you think you could do with Doctor Who? And Philip Morris said maybe do a movie or something. So RTD didn't, in just his casual time, had no concept of what to do with Doctor Who. So he's in this non-job interview, and he suddenly goes, oh gosh, we could do so much with the Disney budget. We could bring Sutek back, and we could do this and we could do that. And they must have gone, oh my God, get him back now. And of course, all he's done is list old fours and said, and I'm going to go fantasy, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to have a very emotional Doctor. And they've gone, yeah, yep, bang, wow, we're amazing job interview. No, I mean a proper job interview where you go and you've got to make a pitch. And aren't we told when you get tradies that you need to get about 3 bids?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in Australia trying to sell our property in Brisbane, I got 3 estate agents in, and I made them do a pitch. I'd read on some program. I made them. I had one of them. He came in with the charts and everything. He said, "I'm going to auction." I thought, "Bog off! You're not auctioning. Our property's a one-off. Bog off." So he was the whippersnapper. There's always one. Smart suit. I'm young. I ain't got a clue, but I'm going to auction your house. Bye bye. And then it was a battle of 2 women. Then one, she looked like she was from Dallas in the 80s, big hair and all the rest of it, and she plays golf and she looked smart. And it was a luxury of property, so you think that fits. But actually, it was the old croc, Val. It was Val who I picked in the end because Val just knew every full stop of everything. She knew all the boring little details. This is what you do, isn't it? You actually interview people and you hear how they talk and their little ideas. And I personally think
we should sell this to the BBC. We should get we'll get a whole bunch of showrunners and creative teams to pitch to us on the Senssphere.
Yes,
and the chat can vote. We can do the selection process for the BBC. We won't even charge.
Well, I've been writing to people today to say, please write to me. I'm hoping they do. The problem being, for example, Karen, Joe Chapman, and anyone of, because I'll have you on, and I'll do 2-handers. I love to do this. 2-handers are lovely little chats. So yes, let's interview everybody. But I don't mean you.
Every time you say 2-hander, I think it's something else.
Sorry. I call them.
I don't know what you're talking about, but anyway.
Just nice thing. Yeah.
Hey, the chat's asking. Well, no, I'm asking. You weren't tempted to ask Philip Morris if he secretly had kept a copy of the missing episode of Web of Fear to negotiate with?
I did ask him about the part 3. And he did give an answer. Obviously, when I'm pressing buttons and doing all the things, and I had a big panel, he did give an answer. If everyone looks at that Sunday show again, it's early on, because I mentioned the missing episodes early on, because I know I said to him, I'll get the question out the way. He's not going to give me an exclusive, is he, for God's sake? So if you just go early on in that Doctored Who, it's called, he does talk about that part 3, because I said that was a time issue. I understood that he had found all 6 episodes of Web of Fear. We know part 3 in the end wasn't retrieved, and I'd read somewhere that was because there was a delay in how the BBC Now he does give an answer to that, and I can't remember what it was. That's terrible of me, isn't it?
Hey, problem being, what's going on, man? Jeez, he struck a low blow. He said my brain's been taken over by Shooty Gatwa.
Yeah, Lee. Yeah, this is his last time on the detox, because if this has happened, he's off. No. Oh, hey, Lee. If you know Cybermat Strikes Here, he doesn't even like the Peladon stories. I mean, he's semi-shufty Doctor Who fan. I mean, he doesn't even like Peladon.
Hey, problem being, I like Samsung.
Oh God! So, hey, I'm seeing so many new people in the thread. I hope you've subscribed and said hi and want to come on and send me messages and do all that stuff. So remember, as you can see on the messages here, we've just done the 11 a.m. show. There's another one at 7 p.m. me and Rachel, and on Sunday at 6 we're live. I was away last weekend, so I did Terror of the Ortons review, but I'm live. Big debate. And I'll be on again that night, 11 p.m. Now, it might be, there's a few different choices I've got there. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in. Just you make sure you press that little like, please, and subscribe. Spread the word to a friend, and let's grow this community. I've really enjoyed it. Lee's trying to have the last word. There's only one Peladon story.
Yeah, that's not boring.
Oh, gosh. Right, everybody, thank you very much. And we've got Doctor Who Before and Beyond. It will be an honor for anyone to be on the show, Brendan. It's a fantastic watch and will be a brilliant experience to have a good yarn about Doctor Who. I'm inviting you. I'm expecting my Gmail to be full of people saying they want to come on. I love talking. I love to hear what you've got to say. And I mean it. I mean it. You can record this and throw it back in my face. Click, like, subscribe. See you at 7 p.m. tonight. Thank you very much, Dan, for being on again. Our detox is now over and detoxed.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Yeah, see you, everybody. Bye.